with B-Bad and Brandon.
No, we started the year of COVID. That's right,
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
We didn't start because of COVID. We just
we started.
just worked
anyway.
out that it turned out. We did it then.
And it was probably like, as most people look back now, COVID was probably the best thing for the potty. Like we were pumping out 2 episodes a week at one point.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough that a friend of ours owns a EP clinic around the corner from here.
Yeah.
So he was we were lucky enough. He lent us that space. We were able to set up there.
Yeah.
Still get people on if they could travel.
Yeah.
Obviously with all those fucking restrictions.
Yeah.
And then, they just like had a lot of overseas guests, which was cool.
Yeah, awesome.
It really allowed us to branch out, and
Nice.
now we're just like, it's just so much fun for us.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, it's really cool, the thing you get, the people you get to meet and the humans you get to sit down with.
Yeah.
And, the flexibility of being able to talk to everyone overseas. And with so Instagram and stuff, it's just literally a DM away.
Yeah.
So you just slide into those DMs and say, hey, what's up? And let's have a chat.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah,
right?
and we find like most people, like you've got like yourself, we've never interacted before ever. But if you have a look at it, our stuff's is pretty good and tight, and everyone's always like, "Yeah, let's have a chat." So we've met some super cool people.
Yeah,
we had Stan Efferdine on.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
Like that was still one of my favorite. Like obviously, pro bodybuilder.
Yeah,
fucking all-time great powerlifter.
Yeah,
it's like we were just in meathead heaven.
Yeah.
And then obviously, probably similar to yourself a little bit, talking about that business side of things.
Yeah.
Because he was just fucking
on another
crazy.
level.
Built like 5 companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just insane. But we're here to talk about you, kind sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, thank you for making the time to come on, bro. Like,
no, of course,
incredibly busy life.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. Hey, I could not imagine.
Especially at the moment. But
how old are you, by the way?
37.
Damn.
Fuck. Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were closer to my age.
Did you have me as younger?
Yeah, I'm 30.
Everyone does. Yeah. When I tell people I'm 37, they're like,
Are you sure? Look at that birth certificate. Thanks.
Yeah.
Driver's license everywhere you go.
Yeah. Well, especially like with the bodybuilding lifestyle, because, guys look a lot older than they are usually.
Yeah.
But I guess I got good genetics.
You're like,
I don't know, man.
What's your
myself, I guess.
What's your background? Last name Mencel? Is it pronounced?
Yeah. So on my mother's side Italian, my dad's side Polish.
Oh right. Yeah.
So it was actually Mencel with a Z.
Yeah.
And when the Germans invaded Poland, they fled Poland for Australia and changed the Z to a C, so that they didn't seem as Polish.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's obviously tragic story.
Yeah.
But from this end, like that's actually fucking interesting and exciting.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Wow.
That's a crazy background.
The family came over here due to all that stuff. And
Yeah. So the Italian side was through war as well, but they had nothing in Italy, so it was to come to Australia for a better life.
Yeah.
The Polish side was extremely well off, lost everything.
Wow.
Packed up, left, said, if we stay here, we're going to get killed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just packed up and left. And it's funny because my grandparents are still in legal proceedings with the German government trying to get land back.
Really?
Yep. That was stolen or misappropriated through the war. Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And still
and it's like,
arguing
what is it now, 40, 30 to 80 years later?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then the Germans are still hanging on pretty tight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's this big, long, drawn out.
It's such a crazy, I love reading all the stories that came out of, it's as tragic as they are. But it blows my mind that, there's still people dealing with it.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
That is crazy. After everything that's gone on, and I'm sure we've only heard the top level stories, the big ones that obviously have come out. And I don't know if you lads have read the book Tattoos of Auschwitz or whatever.
No.
You will cry reading it.
Yeah.
No shame there, guys.
Yeah.
Put my hand up, but it is insane what they endure.
Yeah.
So to hear that, stuff is still going, that's just
80
mind-boggling
years on,
to me.
still doesn't have their land back.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting when my grandparents pass away.
Yep.
Because they're in their late 80s now.
Yeah.
Like my dad and his brothers are not, not really interested in it. So,
I'm sure there's not
kind of
real
just dies with the generation ultimately. So
bet you they factor that in too. They outlive it and then they keep the land. The bastards. But we have one question. We're nowhere near the one question, so we should ask the one question that we have out of all of our. We don't have many questions. You and I look forward to seeing how such a busy human with so much stuff is happening fits into just 21 words who you are and what you do. And you can...
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
21 words.
That's all you get. Brando really good at counting too.
I'm shocking.
Yeah. So what do you want, like an elevator pitch?
Yeah, why not?
21. That's a great way to put that.
Can it just be like a list?
Yeah, we'll take lists.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right.
So there's a lot to get through.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go...
Hang on. We'll start on the first word.
Okay. Yeah. Business owner. Can I list the businesses?
Yes.
Okay. MJFitness. TMJ Apparel. Level Up Media.
Ooh.
You don't know about that one yet.
Oh, here we go.
Do I have to edit that out?
IFBB Pro.
You're at 10.
Oh, that's cool. We can keep going then. Bodybuilding show MC. Husband. Son, brother. That's it.
Bro, that...
You can go with that.
Damn.
Yeah,
even
we can go with that.
The first, 10 words was all business orientated. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, because I figure that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, but also, then I'm like, then he listed off like, obviously husband, brother, son. And I'm like, how does this motherfucker have all this time? Like, how do you do it all? Level Up Meter, obviously, is your next one.
Yes.
Is that been announced? Or do I have to edit that out?
No, you can keep it in. Yeah. I was like, technically, it hasn't been announced, but we do. I mean, we do a lot of media work. It just hasn't been packaged up as the Level Up Media brand, I guess.
And what came first? Because obviously, for those Massive Joes was the supplement chain.
Yes.
That was
a cool name.
100%.
Just got to say, I have to give a shout out to one of my clients. Yeah. His name is Joe, and he stumbled across your brand many years ago.
Yeah,
instantly bought a shirt.
Yeah,
because he's Joe, and it's Massive Joe, and now he's Massive Joe, and he's Massive Joe shirt, and all he friggin' wears at the gym outside of a Fortitude shirt is his Massive Joe shirt.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah. Well, we're just in the middle of a rebrand, so Massive Joe's is.
That'll be
it's gone now. That's going to be vintage.
Vintage wear.
Yeah, that's it, man.
So,
collector's edition.
Obviously, you're an IFBB Pro.
Yes.
Did that transition with the supplement company happen because of are you still competing?
Yeah, man. I'm 2 weeks out at the moment.
I was going to say, the amount of veins through. If you're not watching the YouTube channel, you can see that Johnny and I have covered up.
We're not trying to play here.
This is a different level that I'm
It's the Brisbane heat. It's these lights, man. Lights. Got heat coming off them. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, to really kind of give let's call it the Kentucky tour of really kind of my transition into the fitness space, because that's ultimately like everything I do professionally is actually that's one thing I forgot to list in the 21 words. So I do business mentoring as well, which is not technically, it's not a business, it's just something I do because I enjoy doing it. But aside from that, everything I do is in the fitness space. And so how that came about was I grew up playing basketball. Like my earliest childhood memories are with the basketball. I must have been, like 4 or 5 years old when I first started balling.
Had those hoop dreams.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Good. Yeah, I was born in 85 as well, so it was a good time to come up playing basketball with Jordan, Alonzo Mourning, Charles Barkley. Yeah. Man,
did you collect the cards?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I still got some.
100%. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow. Surely they were
I hope they are.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know until you check them out. But so anyway, so I came up playing basketball. And I got quite good at basketball. So actually, you guys will appreciate this, knowing a little bit about basketball. So I got quite good at basketball, came up through the state teams, national teams, so on and so forth. Did 2 tours of the US.
Wow.
The second tour that I did was 2003.
Yep.
And we played a opening game at Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Before LeBron James played one of his last high school games for St. Vincent St. Mary's.
Bullshit.
100%. Yep.
And you watched him play then as well?
We played before him.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I've got in my office back in Adelaide in the boardroom, I've got the change rooms used to have these big corflute signs of like the visiting teams. And so our corflute sign said Australian Nationals.
Yeah.
And so I met LeBron as we were coming off the court and St. Vincent St. Mary's were coming on the court, and I wanted him to sign something. And I was like, fuck. I can't get him to sign my jersey because we're touring. I need my jersey. So I was just like, corflute sign, come off the change room door. LeBron, can you sign the corflute sign?
Sick.
So I've got the Australian Nationals corflute sign from the change room door with LeBron James signature.
No way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
He
wild. And he would have been 18 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he signed LeBron, 23, King James.
King James then too.
Yeah. Yeah, at 18. Yeah. So anyway,
that's mad.
Side note. So yeah, I got quite good at basketball. Couple of tours in the US. Was looking at going and playing college basketball. And then I developed. So when I was younger, I developed a stress fracture in my lower back. I was 13, 14 at the time. No big deal to have like a lot of high impact athletes have them. When I was 17, 18, late teens, I developed another one on the same vertebrae.
Oh dear.
So game over. Right? Like high impact, you can't do because the risk of like paralysis. Fucked. So that was the end of basketball.
Oof.
And that was the transition to bodybuilding effectively, because I'd been introduced to strength and conditioning training through basketball to become stronger and be able to jump higher and, all the performance-based things that you do with performance-based sports. And when basketball was like, you can't do this anymore, I still, I was young, still 17, 18 years old and athletic. And so I wanted something athletically that I could pursue competitively, and being introduced to weight training, it was like powerlifting or strongman or bodybuilding. And I'd always been inspired by aesthetic physiques. So I was like, well, let me look into this bodybuilding thing. Went and watched a bodybuilding show and just like fell in love straight away. I was like, fuck, this is awesome. This is the one. How do people do this with like, how do they make themselves look like this? And so trained, got a coach, and entered my first bodybuilding show in 2004. So I was 18 at the time.
Wow. So pretty much less than a year turnaround.
Yeah, year turnaround. Wow. Yeah. I was always able to build muscle pretty easily. It was obviously
Exhibit A. I just looked at that.
Thanks, man. It was with bodybuilding, it's the condition. 100%, like getting the body fat off. That's a challenge. But yeah, I did it within 12 months. I was teenage division, so it's and bodybuilding back then was not what it is now. You had like 20 people show up to a show. I'm emceeing a show tomorrow. We've got 300 athletes, so it was much. That this is almost 20 years ago now, and that was kind of my transition into bodybuilding, and the supplements came pretty much off the back of that, because I started looking at, okay, how do I become a better bodybuilder? Let me look at supplementation. So like protein and creatine and aminos and so on and so forth. And in Australia at the time, there was nothing, man. Like there was like Musashi. That was, and not Musashi like it is now.
Like a very basic.
Very basic, protein powders that tasted like fucking wet cardboard. Creatine was like $1 a gram. Like it was because no one was making it, right? So it was super fucking expensive.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Wow. 5 grams of creatine a day, $5 a day, man.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah,
because
growling dog creatine. I remember
the old Musashi.
Fucking
good on them.
Yeah,
I think that's still going around too.
Probably is. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So then I started looking all over the place, like, and started Googling and whatever. And I guess it was good timing because there'd been some legislative changes in the US that effectively flipped not the burden of proof, but the regulatory structure around supplements on its head. Yep. So before these changes, if you wanted to make claims about supplements, you needed to prove that the claims were legit.
Yep.
Legislative change. Now the FDA needed to prove that the claims were false. Right. So you could pretty much put anything you wanted into the market, claim, and just do a little disclaimer that it hasn't been approved by the FDA, and you fucking floodgates were open. Damn. So the supplement industry exploded in the US, which meant that there was a lot of innovation. There was a lot of proteins and aminos and pre-workouts like NO Explode, Gaspari Super Pump 250, you know, all of these new products.
The old classics.
Yeah, man.
The old,
yeah. And so I started importing products from the US for me to use myself as a competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And because I was doing quite well as a bodybuilder, I was at university at the time as well. So I kind of skipped over the education piece. So studying at university, training at the university gym, which was back then, you know, a real nice tight-knit community, kind of like a college gym. I was doing quite well, taking these supplements, and I'd be doing stuff like the stuff that people hadn't seen before, right? So I go to the gym. It was commonplace back then to have like a shot of espresso, you know, like a little black coffee or whatever. I come in with a shaker full of this like colored stuff, right? So people naturally, they'd ask like, what never seen that shit before.
What's that? I want.
Explain it. It's pre-workout. It does this and this and muscle pumps and, you know, mental focus and energy and all this stuff. Intra-workout, everyone was drinking just water out of water bottles.
No one's having anything.
I had colored aminos. Right. So you imagine like the only person in the gym drinking like blue stuff and red stuff. And it's a lot of people asking, what is it? It's branched chain amino acids, you know, carbohydrates, and it does this and that. And a lot of questions. And then post workout, it's funny because Adelaide University gym was one level underneath the uni bar, the pub upstairs, right? So finished training, and like everyone would just go upstairs and have a beer and a schnitzel schooners and snitties and palmies and this and that, and I'd have a protein shake, right? And so people were like, Joe, just come up and have a fucking palmy, and I'm like, nah, man, I got my protein shake. Oh, what's a protein shake? Like, so a lot of interest, right? And so I'd start telling people about it. And because I was doing well and my physique was developing, I get questions about it. And people say, well, can you get me some next time? You know, next time you place an order, can you import some? And, you know, I'll buy it off you. Yeah, sure, man, no problems. So I went from, you know, importing a box of stuff for myself to importing boxes of stuff for members at the uni gym, and then it kind of spread, and then the universities in Adelaide are all kind of connected. So, man, within the space of a few months, I was importing like pallets of stuff, loading up the boot of my car, and driving around to the different university gyms on like a, you know, couple of times a week.
And dealing out protein.
And I was the guy selling subs out the back of the fucking, out the back of the Commodore.
That's the fucking
like
best.
Legit. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That will always be how Massive Joe started, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, and then the name, just because you mentioned the name as well. So they used to call me at the university gym, they used to call me Massive Joe.
Yep.
Because I was bigger, you know, and bodybuilding and whatever. And so when I was like, I should probably make a business out of this, Massive Joe's.
Done.
That's where the name came from. So I wish I could remember who gave me the original idea for the name, where it came from. But that's kind of how it came about, man.
That's insane.
And that was the real grassroots of, I guess, the initial seed of everything that I do today.
That's insane. And that, like, obviously you're importing now, say you got to the stage of importing pallets of stuff for all the other unis. When did it just go, hey, I could actually make a business out of this?
Well, there was kind of different stages to it. So I've always had an entrepreneurial streak. So I told the story of, like, you know, I was the kid in high school where my parents would give me like some money to, you know, in case I needed a bus ticket or forgot my lunch or whatever, $20. So I'd take the $20. I'd go to the supermarket. I'd buy a 24 pack of Coke. And I'd go and I'd see the tuck shop was selling Coke for like $2 a can. And I was like, it just cost me 50 cents a can. Let me take it to school. It cost me $20, double my money. Right.
Yeah,
so I'm going to undercut. Turn 20 into 40, undercut the tuck shop. All my mates were buying Coke from me because it was half the price. I was making money. Sweet.
Everyone's happy.
So I do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then I was really interested in very early e-commerce. Right. So I remember one of the first things I sold, and this is back when like there was no Shopify, there was no WooCommerce. Like you couldn't set up your own website. It's just fucking impossible unless you had like a team of web developers and all the integrations, and like PayPal didn't even exist back then. So eBay, right? If you wanted to sell shit online,
eBay.
You sold it on eBay. And so I was really interested. So I started to like wheel and deal stuff on eBay. One of the first things I sold on eBay was the original iPods with the little circular wheel. Yeah.
One of those ones.
So I used to import those from, but this is before Apple was what we know Apple today. Like they were very difficult to get in Australia. So I used to import them from the US and sell them on eBay in Australia. Make $100 per, per iPod and happy days. So I used to do that. One of my big money spinners was so I mentioned I used to play.
That's my daughter going wild.
Yeah. That was how I felt when this idea came to me. Actually, it's perfect timing. So I mentioned I used to play basketball, and one of the basketball kind of goes through these fads of like what's popular and what's not. And early 2000s, what was really popular were the yellow bracelets, the Livestrong bracelets, Lance Armstrong Foundation. All the NBA players were wearing them, and so naturally, like anyone who played basketball wanted to be like the NBA players, so everyone wanted the Livestrong bracelets. Couldn't get them in Australia. So I used to import them from Nike in the US for like $1 and then sell them for like $10.
Stop it.
Yeah, man.
What a market.
Yeah. And like sell more than I could buy. Like it was ridiculous.
Really?
Just on eBay. Just selling on eBay.
Did eBay like take a big cut out of that back then?
10%.
Yeah.
$9 markups.
Yeah.
Still making $8 a band, bro.
Yeah. And selling like hundreds of them, man. As like what would I have been? 15, 16 years old.
You lived at the post office.
Yeah. Happy days.
They knew you by
and
name.
cheap to freight as well, not like fucking tubs of protein.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'd always been interested in e-com, right? And just entrepreneurship and business.
100%.
And so fast forward to driving around to the different gyms with the sups in the back of the car. I put the two and two together, and I'd had experience with running eBay stores and e-com, and I was like, I wonder if anyone's selling supplements on eBay. Had a look. Nothing.
Oh,
no one.
Here we go.
Nothing. So I was like, all right, here we go. And so back then, eBay was auction only. So you put something on, you could set a reserve price and people would bid it up, but there was no fixed price or any of that sort of shit. So I would import back then tubs of Eno Explode. Eno Explode was like the first product that I did this with. And I'd land them for like $30, $35, $40. Put them on eBay and just see what happens. And people would bid them. And I was selling tubs of Eno Explode for like $120, $150. Yeah, people just bid them up, man. And I was the only person selling. I was the first person to sell supplements online in Australia, as far as I know. Definitely the first person on eBay. And because there was no competition, it was fucking wild.
Wow.
Supply and demand. And you had all the supply.
Yeah.
And there's only one chain of supply, all the demand.
Yep. Exactly.
That's insane.
Exactly. So that was the first step. And then obviously eBay Open Marketplace competition came in very quickly. So that lasted a couple of months, I reckon, not very long. And so then I was like, okay, well, I need to kind of get off this platform and try and build my own website. So my cousin at the time knew how to code websites, and I had a friend at university that I was studying alongside, and he kind of knew how to integrate and this and that. And so I started the first version of what was back then MassiveJoes.com. And started selling supplements alongside eBay. I was still selling them on eBay, but then fixed price on my own website. And I guess that was probably when it, I guess you could call it a business. And that was November 2005.
Wow.
And no other real supplement company was attacking the internet just yet.
No.
In their own space like that here in Australia.
No. I think the first one came a few years later. I reckon it was like 2007, 2008.
Yep.
And they're still around. They're still around doing their thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, but there was a couple of years there where it was like...
That would have been a great time to be in business.
It's good, man.
When no one else, there's no competitor.
Well, as an 18, 19-year-old as well.
Yeah,
like, it was
100%.
fucking great.
How did you go getting relationships with companies in America to get stuff over here? Was that a hard thing to do, or?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, wow.
I just kind of played on like the Australian thing.
Yep.
You know, g'day, mate.
Yeah, turn that up a little bit.
Yeah, turn it up a bit. No, it wasn't difficult at all. It wasn't difficult at all.
And I'm sure they would be willing to like get into the market over here as well.
100%. It's a new market for them. You know, everyone's battling it out in the US for the same piece of the pie. And then this young Australian guy comes around and says, well, you know, I've got a whole fucking country.
Yeah. And I'm the only one.
And I'm the only one doing it. Let's do some business.
That's insane. And then the shop front, when did that come about?
Okay, so now we got to kind of fast forward. So I mentioned I was at university. So I studied mechanical engineering and law.
Oh, wow.
So I was at university for 8 years. So university longer than I was at high school, just to put that in perspective.
Wow.
So I graduated high school 2003, and then I was at university for the 8 years following that. So I didn't finish university till 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, that number. It was 8.5 years technically. Because by the time I graduated, it was 2012. So from 2005 to 2012, I had this side hustle business happening. I was studying these two very difficult degrees. I was competing at the same time in bodybuilding, and then I was, I was doing some odd jobs on the side, tutoring and whatever. Before the business kind of got to the point where I didn't have to because it was earning enough money. And then towards the end of my studies, I picked up some work experience as well. So I was working at a company called Santos, which is an oil and gas company.
Oh, wow.
Biggest oil and gas company in South Australia. And so I was working there as well. So I was juggling like a whole bunch of things at the same point in time. And so the first retail store didn't come until I finished university. So I graduated 2012. The first standalone retail store didn't open until 2013. So from 2005 to 2013, it was just this juggling act of studying, running the side hustle, working at Santos, competing, and just, trying to fit all this shit in.
But outside of uni, what an education.
Yeah, 100%.
What a learning. Like, obviously you were young, had the energy, you could do all that. That's incredible, bro.
Yeah. It's where I developed my ability to get by with not much sleep.
I was going to ask.
That was where that began. I was like, well, it's 24 hours in a day. How many of these hours do I want to spend sleeping? And that was kind of where I was like, well, I don't have to sleep 8 hours. I can get by. Back then, I used to get by with like 5. Not so much anymore, but
it's like early age.
At what point at any point in your uni degree did you think you were no longer going to use that in its trade, so to speak, and then all of a sudden that was going to be the thing?
100%. One of my biggest regrets. People always ask, like, what do you regret? And the typical answer is, I have no regrets. Fucking bullshit, man. Everybody regrets something. If you don't regret something, it's your ego. It's your ego talking. If you can't reflect and honestly lean into vulnerability and say, you know what, I could have done that better, or I made the wrong decision there. Ultimately, it's a sign of maturity. But one of my biggest regrets was I knew very early on that I wasn't going down the professional path. But for me, and I'm not even sure that I do it differently, but it doesn't change that it's one of my biggest regrets. I finish what I start. And because I made the commitment that I was going to university, I was going to get these 2 degrees, a little bit of stubbornness, I think, as well. I was like, no, I'm going to see this through. Knowing very well within the first couple of years that I was going to be a businessman, entrepreneur, and kind of, do my own thing. I still stayed the path and finished off.
Wow. I think that's amazing, because a lot of people, I myself dropped out of uni studying teaching because I knew 2 years in, I'm not going to be a teacher. One of my biggest regrets was not finishing it.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I like, not for the fact, say if the business didn't work out and I had to go get a job, and it may have been teaching, may have been not, but I think just having a bachelor degree, no matter what industry it is, just shows an employer straight away that they're willing to work through shit. Because no matter what uni degree, it is shit. Going to uni, like obviously to be a doctor or a mechanical engineer, or even study law, you obviously need that education. But there's a lot of degrees out there that don't necessarily, I believe, personally, transfer into a broader spectrum of the workforce.
Yeah, especially now.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think, but now just if you have a bachelor's degree, it just looks good on that resume because it shows you do start what you finish. Or finish what you obviously finish what you start, and you committed to that 8 fucking years. Like, do you ever look back on that 8 years and go, what could I have achieved in that 8 years if I didn't go? Yeah.
That's why it's one of my biggest regrets.
Yeah, right.
Because I was like, fuck, man, as soon as I always used to talk about it like it was like I had like this rubber band that was like, my body was like engulfed in this rubber band, and I was trying to like get forward, and the rubber band kept pulling me back. And that was finishing university. As soon as I finished and I made the commitment to go all in on my business, it fucking exploded. So I was like, man, had I done that 5 years earlier,
where would it be?
That's why it's a regret of mine. But it's interesting you say that, because I'm not sure that if I had done that, it might have flipped, and one of my biggest regrets might be not finishing.
Yeah.
You know, so,
and as you said before, like, you can recognize that where you've ended up now is because of the course you took.
Always.
And that's like, even though it is still a regret, you can't help but be thankful for that experience, because I'm sure, again, you learned how to fucking run everything on less than 5 hours of sleep.
It's one of my favorite Steve Jobs quotes from his Stanford commencement speech. Steve Jobs, obviously one of the founders of
connect
Apple.
The dots looking backwards.
Connect the dots.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't connect them looking forwards, but you can always connect them looking back.
100%.
Yeah.
Love that quote of his. Did you ever get in trouble? Like, just another thought. Did Apple ever come to you and go, hey, stop selling our iPods over here. We're going to set up a store.
No,
really?
No, not at all. No. It was very back then. Apple didn't have retail stores.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, they're probably just happy to have their iPod being sold.
Yeah, well, but you got to remember, like, Apple was. I know the history of Apple very well, because I in some of the keynote speeches that I do, I tell the Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak story. So I'm very well versed on the Apple history. But Apple was 90 days away from bankruptcy.
That's right.
Yeah, they got close.
They were very close to completely collapsing. Yeah.
Can you just imagine if like that happened though?
An iPhone.
I know, like tricky. I literally
I need this thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we rely on our iPhones. I could not just for calling, but now I can do heaps of social media stuff from it. I can record everything. And all from
podcasts.
Literally, like
Man, I was doing Canva designs on my iPhone the other day for a comp I'm running on the weekend.
Yeah.
I was like, this thing's the best.
Yeah.
Canva, like, just side note, Canva is fucking amazing for people like myself who have no graphical design experience or creativeness in that space.
Templates.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. That's crazy that Apple literally, and now look at them.
Yeah, look where they are.
So where was your first store, man?
Still have it, actually. So Massive Joe's Durnan Court. Which is in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. Mid-north, I would say, because we have stores that are further north as well. But yeah, mid-north was the first standalone store. Opened 2013. Just about to turn 10 years old.
That's cool.
In July. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Get a party?
Of course.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, man.
It would have been a proud day opening your first shop.
It was huge.
Yeah. Nervous and shitting yourself at the same time?
Yeah. All of the above.
Back then, that would have been around time all the like really harsh, I guess, legislation changed around products like Jack 3D.
No, that was after that. Right.
So you wouldn't have had much issue with that, or
not really? No. We've got legislative changes coming up in November that are going to really crush the industry.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you
know?
So
these ones coming. Yeah. It's all public record now. Pretty much anything in capsule form now has to be listed as a therapeutic good.
Yes.
Which means you're restricted as to what you can put in. what ingredients and the doses as well. Ooh. So a lot of the capsule products that you see on the market today, gone.
Boom.
Yeah. Biggest legislative change. Like we've had Jack 3D where they like banned one ingredient. And, you know, they banned in 2020, they banned, 2019, dynamine and different isomers of dynamine. It's always like one ingredient, phenobarb, melatonin, right? This is an entire class of supplements. Yeah, wow. Boom.
So imagine even for a supplement company, even if your product meets a standard, the expense to then prove that would be pretty ginormous.
You can't meet the standard. This is the problem, right? Because the TGA is like, oh, you can only use 1,000. I'm just paraphrasing here. You can only use 1,000 milligrams of leucine in your BCAA capsule. What the fuck are you going to do with 1,000 milligrams of leucine?
Literally.
Yeah. What? So just dumb shit like that.
And God knows where they come up with their numbers.
Well, where they come up with their numbers is the framework is about 25 years old now.
Oh, good.
So it's a little bit of it's kind of complicated to explain, but back before supplements were supplements, everything was regulated as either a pharmaceutical, aka a therapeutic good, or a food.
Yeah.
Right. And so now we've had this gray area between Food Standards Australia, New Zealand, and that framework and the pharmaceutical framework of the TGA. And supplements kind of sit in the middle. And so we've had 25 years of, well, how do we regulate these things? And man, I've sat through so many roundtable discussions with the government and what they plan on doing and this and that and whatever. And it's just frustrating because if they listened to industry professionals that have 20 years experience, that know how these products work and how they play out and this and that and whatever, they could actually come up with some really world-leading and really well thought out regulatory structure, but they're just not interested. Not interested. So, you know, some guy overdoses on 5 grams of caffeine and kills himself. Okay, now we need to change the regulatory structure so that in any powdered form supplement, you can't have more than 5% caffeine by weight because that's going to save lives. Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Oh, God.
So is that the exact rule? Like 5%?
That's the exact rule. Yeah. That's on the back of that because there was one overdose on caffeine.
Yeah.
And somebody died
on 5 grams.
Because they thought they were taking, I think it was creatine. They thought they were taking something that wasn't caffeine, and it was caffeine.
Surely, though, there's like a point in line, like say that tragic, obviously.
Of course.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some responsibility on the person taking it to
100%.
To be able to read what the fucking product is.
Yeah.
Read the instructions.
And like, you know.
Well, man, we can go down the rabbit hole and we can talk about how it applies to alcohol. And
it's true.
I mean, you pick any legal drug on the market, man, and you go down that rabbit hole, and it's like, come on, what are we doing here?
Internationally, other countries doing it better and differently?
Not really. No,
everyone's got the same problem,
and that's why I say there's a real opportunity to do something world leading.
Yeah.
You just need government to listen to industry and actually want to do something intelligent.
Affect their bottom line from my understanding, I worked in supplements across a few stores way back when, around that 2013 period.
Yeah.
The TGA, it takes a lot of money just to get your product looked at. So if they were to change their regulatory rulings, that's going to affect their bottom line ultimately, which is that one of the biggest barriers to entry for them to change?
I don't think so.
No.
Because I mean, you know, it depends what perspective you take. Because the other perspective is you do kind of what they did in the US and you go, okay, flip it, open the floodgates. Well, how much taxation income is there? You know, when you're importing products and you're paying GST on those products and you're paying import duty on those products. And, you know, if you want to compare revenue streams to revenue streams, I don't even think it comes close. I don't know because I haven't done the exercise. But once again, it depends what perspective you want to take.
So we just need
people. We need some more jacked people in government. We need some more government officials lifting some weights who get it. Right?
Well, you know, I think a little bit more understanding. always kind of assists. Yeah,
100%. It just seems like there's a lot of older heads at the top who aren't willing to open their mind.
Yes.
Be open-minded.
Yeah.
To something that's developing.
Yeah.
Because realistically, supplements, as you said, like, yes, we've got, nearly 20, 30 years of the old regulatory ruling, but there's still a very young industry compared to most.
Yeah, 100%.
We don't even know, I guess, because it is so hard to do testings and things on it, we don't even know the possible benefits or what we could be doing. Like, we're taking caffeine at 5% per powder. That's per weight, sorry. That's nothing compared to the amount of caffeine you can take if you just fucking dose caffeine by itself.
Well, you go the super,
you just go on a fucking no-dose.
Buy no-dose.
Yeah.
Take as many of them as I want. No one's stopping that.
Yeah.
So, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, I feel sorry for you in that sense. I can feel the frustration after this one conversation.
It's frustrating, but it's one of these things where it's like, well, you can work against it, you can work with it. You got to work with it.
And I'm sure, like, in your, obviously, 10 years of opening the first store, and since 2005, you've had to work with it a lot. And
100%, yeah.
Has it been hard to pivot?
Well, you talk about COVID, man. If you guys want to go down that path, like, that's the last 3 years has been the ultimate pivot, for all of us, everyone involved in the fitness industry. Absolutely. I mean, who would have thought that our livelihoods would be taken away from us in one fell swoop
But does did you switch more online? Because I'm just thinking, like,
well, we started online,
so you always had a good presence,
right? So always, online has always been the bread and butter for the business. And look, man, like, COVID, initially huge shock. In the couple of years post-COVID and post-initial lockdowns, I say post-COVID, we're still very much within the shitstorm of COVID, but post the initial lockdowns was very good for the online side of the business. Yeah. Very good. Horrible for retail stores, horrible for gyms, but very good for the online side of the business. Yeah,
awesome. So it wasn't too much of a, in the sense, looking back again, connecting the dots, it wasn't too much of a pivot from you guys. You just kind of went back to what you did really well at the start.
No, it was a huge pivot because so many of our overheads were tied to the retail stores. Yeah. So we went, the story I tell around COVID that kind of really paints the picture was start of 2020, we had 10 retail stores. So we went from 2013 until 2020. I'd opened 14, right? And then moved a couple, closed a couple. And by the time COVID hit, we had 10 operating retail stores at that point in time. And when COVID happened, we had a couple of things from the end of March to the start of April, in that first lockdown, when it was like, okay, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And then it was like, okay, don't go to shopping centers. And then it was like, gyms are shut down. And it was just like you remember watching fucking the Prime Minister, and like every couple of days it was like, oh man,
I remember it vividly.
The anxiety of like watching the fucking, what's he going to say today? Anyway. So within the 2 week period, end of March to start of April, there was a couple of things happened. So the value of the Australian dollar fell through the floor. Right. And not a lot of people know this unless you're involved in dealing with foreign currencies. You didn't even know. But it went from the high 70 cents. So it used to buy like, I'm going to say 78, 79 US cents for an Australian dollar, down to low 50s.
Jesus.
Right. And because we're involved in a lot of products that come out of the US, our buy price increased by 25% in 2 weeks. Right, good, not just on the sup side, on the apparel side as well, because all of our apparel is paid for in US dollars. It's the world's reserve currency, right? So that happened. Shit. So I'm going, all right, fuck, my cost of goods has just gone through the roof. Yep. All right, that's cool. We can deal with whatever. Then international air freight gets shut down. International sea freight gets shut down because they shut all the ports.
So you can't even get it here.
So now you can't even get stock. So I'm like, fuck.
You're like, oh, I can't leave my house.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't run my business.
Yeah. Ultimately, top line revenue when they shut, because all of our retail stores are in shopping centers as well, right? We had a couple of standalones, but all of them in shopping centers. By the time they'd shut shopping centers and then shut gyms, and even the online side of the business, our top line revenue, and the other part of the business that I haven't mentioned is the wholesale distribution side. Yeah. So because we do a lot of importing, we deal with exclusive brands. We supply gyms, we supply personal trainers, we supply other supplement stores too. So within a 2-week period, I watched my top line revenue. This is while the cost of goods is going up, can't get stock. Top line revenue, so sales across online, retail stores, wholesale distribution, dropped by 60% in 2 weeks. Right?
Jesus.
So, yeah. And at that point, I'm going...
We had a good run, boys.
Yeah.
Done.
Close it up.
Yeah.
Degree. But I'm falling back on that shit. I'm going to go be a lawyer, an engineer or some shit. Yeah, so that was the initial shock is couldn't get stock. Stock I could get was costing me 25% more.
Fuck.
And my top line revenue dropped by 60%. And this is a business doing 8 figures of turnover a year. Yeah. Right. So a 60% drop in revenue over 2 weeks is millions of dollars of revenue that we were expecting to be able to pay staff and rent and supplier bills and all of the overheads of running a business of that size and with that many moving parts. That wasn't there. So it was wild.
What'd you do? I'm so curious. What's the next part? This is a fucking...
Yeah, so the initial decision was to close all the stores and pull all the stock back to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Because at that point, and it's always interesting visiting this with hindsight, because now obviously we know how it played out. At the time, we didn't know, right? We were told 2 weeks to flatten the curve, a month to flatten the curve, 3 months to flatten the curve, 6 months to flatten the curve, shut the gyms, stay at home, don't leave your house, military style lockdown. Like it was just, at the time you had no fucking idea what was going to happen next. So I was like, okay, I just need to, and this is the way that I approached 2020 to even now, is make the best decision I can make at that point in time with the information that I have at that point in time.
Yeah.
Right? If the information changes, I can revisit my decision, make a new one. But at that point in time, I have to make the best decision. So the initial decision I made with the information I had at that point in time was, okay, gyms are shut. People are being told to stay at home. People are being told not to go to shopping centers. My stores are not trading.
Yeah, they're done.
So contact all the landlords, say, we're ceasing trading. And legally, it was like force majeure. It was, there was a whole bunch of different bits and pieces that no one really knew what was going to happen. But I was like, look, this is force majeure. The lease is invalid across all the stores. Yeah. This is what we're going to do, and we're just going to have to deal with it. So my initial decision at that point in time, close all the stores, pull all the stock back to the warehouse and operate a purely online business. Because I was like, if people are at home, right, they're still going to exercise. You're still going to,
I had one hell of a setup in my house.
Yeah, fucking oath, man.
I remember.
And they're still going to want to buy subs and apparel, not to the level that they perhaps were, but I need to have stock to sell online. And my stores are not trading. Shut the stores, pull all the stock back. And also because I couldn't order any more stock.
Yeah, you needed some stock.
I need to get from somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was my initial thing. Close all the stores, contact all the landlords, just press fucking pause on everything, run a purely online business.
Nice.
And so we did that for over 6 months. Yeah, that was the initial decision, just to kind of keep the wheels turning.
Yeah.
Do you look back now, again, talking about, connecting the dots, it's always easier looking back now. Would you change anything? Do you still believe that was the right decision?
At the time, it was the right decision. Yeah, based on the information I had. Had I known it was going to play out the way that it played out, I would have made a different decision, but I didn't know.
No, 100%.
No one knew.
What was the different decision you'd probably make?
I probably would have kept some of the stores open and just traded through. And knowing as well, like at the time, we didn't know that JobKeeper was a thing, right?
Oh, yeah,
so
true.
the fact that I had all of this staff that were being paid to do nothing, I would have had the stores open. I would have said, I'm not paying you. Government's paying you.
Might as well have
so go to work.
Might as well keep
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, there's some things that now we know with hindsight that I kind of look back and I go, once again, it's like the regrets, no regrets thing. I go, yeah, you know, had I known that that was going to happen, I probably would have made a different decision around it. Yeah. But at the time, it was the best one I could have made.
Honestly, even like hearing it, looking back now, 100%, I think anyone, that is such a good decision to make. And it would like make sense. You need stock to sell online. You have a great online presence. Might as well do it. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that we did, and I haven't spoken about this publicly before, but as time goes on, I'm more comfortable sharing more of the intricacies because you've got that time buffer. So one of the other things that we did was a lot of the government support, financial support that came in, right, and a lot of businesses received it. A lot of, I guess, the kind of the rhetoric at the time was to use that to stimulate. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm going to use a lot of that support to pay down a lot of our business debt.
Yeah, nice.
Because I was like, I reckon on the flip side of this, we're going to have a big inflation problem. Interest rates are going to go up and the cost of this debt is going to double, triple, quadruple. I'm going to be in all sorts of shit in 2023, 2024. So knowing that not knowing back then, suspecting that that was how it was going to play out. Obviously, that's how it's played out. I took a lot of that stimulus and actually used it to pay down debt. So get a lot of debt out of the business. Which was the right decision at the time. And now looking back was a really fucking good decision.
You look back and go, that cunt was a genius.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I think the right use of the stimulus at that time.
Also, like just on that, it just never made sense to stimulate an economy that when it came out, we still couldn't leave the house, we still couldn't buy. Like it's like, what are we supposed to do with this money? And I think a lot of people had the same mentality. It's like, I know personally, I paid down a lot of debt. It's like, well, I only need. Obviously, my partner left her job just before COVID. So we're like, oh, this is a fucking tricky time. So we're like, well, this is what we need to live. This is how much we're getting. Pay off the debt. There's a much greater, like now, so much better for it.
100%.
I don't know.
A lot of people went in the other direction. And this is no judgment, right? I want to be very clear about this because once again, you make the best decision you can at a point in time. And there was a lot of media communication that we look back on now and we go irresponsible, extremely irresponsible, both from the media and from the government themselves, right? Like how many people do you hear now that were like, you know what, the Reserve Bank said that interest rates weren't going to go up until 2024 and I believed them. Well, is that the person who believed them's fault? If that was being fucking rammed down your throat for 2 years? I'm not so sure. So that's why I say, like, no judgment, right? But a lot of people did that. A lot of people leveraged themselves to the eyeballs because there was all this free money coming in and the communication around that was stimulate. This too shall pass. On the back end of this, things are going to boom again and all of that. And so a lot of people went in the other direction. And now it's like, oh, fuck. Now we've got to deal with the aftermath of all of that. So it's interesting. I feel like we've gone really deep into
we have
COVID,
we did
we did cave.
I was like,
how did we get here?
It happens in the podcast. We literally it just happens.
But I love talking about this shit, man. And I see it across through the business mentoring work that I do. I see it across every industry, right? It's not just fitness. So it's every industry.
You mentor across different industries as well?
Oh shit, yeah. Is
there a particular industry you love the most, or
not really? I just love business. That's cool. So I really like seeing different businesses, and it's interesting because one of the coolest things that has come out of the mentoring work that I do is, man, business it's the same. It doesn't matter whether you're selling supplements or you're in the electrical services trade or you're a coach or you're selling hairdressing product. Business is the same, man. We all have you're selling it.
What's the common frustration that people come to you with?
It depends at what point on the business journey they're at.
Right.
So from a mentoring perspective, I mentor people that are like very like green, very startup, right up to businesses that are doing, let's say 5 to 10 million in turnover. And so I kind of see a lot of and I've been on that journey myself, right? Yeah. So it depends at what point of the business journey they're on, but probably the most common, actually there's two most common. The first one is cash flow, which is generally very early on in the business. The second one's people, which is as you get further into the business. Yeah. Recurring themes.
Do you prefer working with the 5 to 10 million turnover, or are you the greener? You just love it.
I love it both, man. Yeah, because I've lived it, right?
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to impart the knowledge, you know, and ultimately, like, I just save people a lot of time and money because I go, look, I know how this is going to play out because I've been there and I've done that and I've lived this. Don't do that. Do this instead.
There'd be plenty of paths you've taken and put money down that path and then realize that you just spent money.
Oh, dude, it's funny because I was, so I have my own podcast, personal development podcast, the Fitness Times Business podcast, and my most recent guest was Tony Doherty.
Yeah, the legend.
The godfather of bodybuilding.
Bro, he's goat.
Yeah,
he shook my hand
really
once at the Arnold's Festival.
Yeah,
him and Arnold shook my hand.
Yeah,
still haven't watched it.
Anyway, so one of the things come up in our podcast, and we were talking about like the balance sheet of business, and I was like, "Fuck, Tony! Like, if I actually ran the numbers on like the money I've made in business and then the money I've lost in business." I don't know which column is going to be longer, to be honest. You know,
feels.
yeah, because you make so many mistakes, and they're all learning lessons, obviously. But you think about like the amount of money that you could have saved had you had the right advice at that point in time. And you can always look back and you go, "Fuck, I was an idiot. What did I do that for? That was just dumb." But,
do you feel though, like you said, any mistake's a learning lesson? Do you believe that's a mindset thing though?
100%.
Because a lot of people look at a mistake and just go, "I'm done."
Mm-hmm.
Like anyone, I think in your position during COVID, 60% revenue drop.
Yeah.
And you know, anyone, if you went, "That's it, boys, pack her up," I think they would have gone, "That's okay." Yeah. Like, no one would have judged on that decision.
Yeah.
But you chose to do something differently.
Yeah.
Does that come from your entrepreneurial spirit, or is that just because you have like talking to you now? I don't even know how long we've been talking for, but you can see that you're very humble and you are okay with being vulnerable. Does that come from that, or is that entrepreneurial drive?
I think a lot of that has to do with my life experience, man, to be honest. And a lot of the personal development work that I do, I don't think that that necessarily goes hand in hand with the entrepreneurial streak. I think the entrepreneurial streak is very much problem, solution, resource, action. So far as the vulnerability and the humility and all those sorts of things, I think you just have to go through some shit to, you know, like you have to go through failures and you have to go through experiencing shame and you have to go through, you know, one of my biggest failures, public record, right, is divorce. Very public divorce. And because my public persona, especially back then, I used to share a lot more of my private life than I do now. You know, that was very public for me. And I couldn't hide anywhere.
No, especially not with social media these days.
No. So that was, for me, that was a huge learning lesson. It was like, well, fucking, what am I going to do? You know, so I think the humility and the way that I think about failure and the way that I'm comfortable with being vulnerable has a lot to do with just going through shit. Yeah.
What age, like, if you don't mind, what age were you when you went through that, like, divorce?
I was, so it was, it started in 2018. So I would have been, what was I, 33? Yeah.
That's if we believe
early 30. Who knows? I'll track down that birth certificate for you. Yeah, so early to mid 30s. Yeah.
So that's really like that age of where things kind of click for really.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then you've just gone through that, and you're running a fucking multi-million-dollar business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How did that affect you personally? Obviously, we could assume that you're fucking depressed.
Look, I think it's a really good question, actually. I've never been asked that before publicly, how it affected me. It was really difficult for me because I think for the first time in my life, it was a disconnect between input and output. Right. So up until that point in my life, it was my life experience had been very linear. Right. And I think, I'm very grateful for the way I was brought up and the family that I was brought up in. Both sides of my families, very loving families, very supporting families, and really kind of gave me an incredible upbringing. A product of that was I put in effort, I got a certain output.
Yeah.
And there was this linear connection between input and output.
Yeah.
When I went through my divorce was really the first time where I had to confront a lot of uncertainty around it doesn't matter how hard I try and how much effort I put in, I have no control over this. Yeah. And without going into the details, there are a lot of intricacies, as there are with any marriage breakdown. There are a lot of intricacies there that I had no control over. And so for me, that was very, very difficult. That being said, that was really where I planted the seed of the next level of personal development. So for me, that was where, okay, I need to figure out how to deal with this now. Yeah. Right. So how am I going to approach the fact that I can go all in on something and there's no guarantee of success? Yeah. Right. How do I approach the fact that because I've shared so much publicly, people are going to judge, people are going to have opinions. There's nothing I can do to change them.
Yep. It just is.
It just is.
An opinion is like you could, no matter who you are, once you made your mind up about someone, that's it.
Yeah.
Even if they could give you every evidence that they're different, and you'll still probably believe your first opinion of that person. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. But unfortunately, especially in your high profile, that would be very hard to deal with.
Very difficult. Yeah. Yeah. So to circle back and answer your question, very difficult for me. Incredibly grateful for the experience.
Yeah. So my follow-up question is, how did you deal with it?
For the first time in my life, I sought professional help. Yep. Right. So I started seeing a clinical psychologist. As we actually started seeing her, my ex-wife and I, together for like marriage counseling. And then I got so much out of it that was, I just continued. Yep. So I sought professional help to get through that. And that was huge for me. And I still see the same clinical psychologist once every 4 to 6 weeks.
That's literally like my partner and I went for a relationship counselor. And then same thing. I got so much out of it. I still see it to this day.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best things you can do for, even if like you're not having a problem, just having that someone that you can talk to without judgment, and they will provide. I've always found from my experience with psychologists, they don't judge, but they also don't provide advice. They kind of just guide you through this, your own head pretty much, and go, what about this? Have you thought of this perspective?
100%.
That's really good, man.
Yeah.
You should be very proud of the journey you've been on there.
Well, I was still on it, man.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. And it's funny with the timing. Once again, you can join the dots looking backwards. You can't join them looking forward, because, my divorce started in 2018. It wasn't finalized. The actual divorce wasn't finalized until 2020. The financial settlement, interesting, wasn't finalized until the end of 2021. At the same time, we have a pandemic.
Oh, God. And there's certainly not as much coming in.
Yeah. Like, So, all of these things kind of happened and kind of compounded on top of each other. But this is why you join the dots looking backwards. Had I not started going through that personal development journey in 2018, as my marriage was falling apart, there's no fucking way I would have been able to even begin developing the skills to get through the pandemic and then the financial settlement on the back of that, and all of the shit that's happened. So incredibly grateful for the experience.
Right. And that journey of personal development, did you dive into anything like breath work, meditation,
all of it, everything? So much of what I do now from a personal development perspective, the seeds were planted then in 2018. Yeah.
Do you have a specific morning routine?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. 100%.
I want to hear it. I love this shit.
Yeah. So first thing I do when I wake up, the first thing I do is I tell my wife that I love her.
Yeah. Lovely.
Goes without saying.
Yeah.
That one got me, boys.
Yeah. Then I move into, and this is my current wife as well. I know we've talked about it before. I'm remarried now, happily married. My wife, Amy, is the absolute best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yep.
I then move into first thought. So I'm conscious of my first conscious thought. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral?
Yep.
What is the state of mind that I'm consciously waking up in? Because that I'll know, like if I have a nice positive thought, fantastic, I'm sweet. If I wake up and I'm thinking about fucking distress and that, I'm like, okay, we've got some work to do here. Let's it just gives me like a good kind of
it's like a compass, pretty much.
A compass, that's a perfect way to describe it. Yeah. Like where am I at? What do I need to work on straight away? So I do that. I get up, I have a glass of water, I weigh myself every morning as well. Just I guess part of my physical.
In a couple of weeks for stepping on stage.
Yeah, that's it, man. But it's just an accountability thing. Yep. Then I get into some journaling. So I have my morning journal is I actually write down my first thought. I then write down how I'm feeling, right? So emotionally, how am I feeling? And I take a few notes. I then have gratitude journal, and then I have a pride journal. So something that I'm proud of from the last 24 hours.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Then I move into, it's a big routine. I move into my life philosophy.
Yep.
So why do I do what I do? Yep. I have a little script around my just cause, my why, what's important to me, and I call it my life philosophy. Then after that, I pretty much kind of get stuck into my day. So then I have like another list of,
the things
things that I do, effectively work related. Yeah, but the mindfulness stuff comes first. 100%. The first thought, the journaling, the gratitude, the affirmation, tell my wife I love her, that sort of stuff. So
does the rest of your day roll as structured as that?
I try to. Yeah, that's always the goal.
I feel like when you've got that many fingers and that many pies, you try and...
You have to, man. You have to. Yeah. So I have, I use a tool practically. I use a tool called my daily accountability calendar. And there's a written part to it and there's an electronic part to it. So the written part is I have 3 critical tasks that I have to get done that day that'll move my life forward outside of the usual working in the business, going to the gym, like all the shit that I'm going to do. These are the things that are important to move my life forward. I have one thing that's uncomfortable that I have to do. And then I have one thing that's kind for somebody else.
Oh, that's awesome.
So uncomfortable, kind, 3 critical tasks. Write those down first thing in the morning. If I get all of that done, I win the day, right? That's a win for me. So that's the written part. And then the electronic part, which I have on my computer, which is work day related. So I don't use this on weekends. This is when I'm in the office at work, is my day's broken down into 30-minute slots. And every 30 minutes is accounted for.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
100%. You need to be on that.
I think we can see one of the many reasons why you're so successful.
You got to do it, man. Yeah.
I also just love the thing, you're prioritizing. Do something that's uncomfortable and do something that's kind for someone.
Yeah.
Those two alone would change our society if everyone just did it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all got that one thing that we need to do that we keep procrastinating on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
you think about it right now, right?
Yeah,
it's like absolutely. That one thing. Some of us have more than one thing, but we all have one thing where you just kind of kick that can down the road.
Yeah.
Fucking do it, man. Do it, and that's the uncomfortable thing is it's like, don't kick the can down the road. Whatever it is, get it done today. It's never as bad as you think it's going to be. It's never going to be as uncomfortable as you think it's going to be. Maybe it's that difficult conversation you got to have with that person.
Yep.
Maybe it's that uncomfortable email you got to send, that uncomfortable phone call you got to, fucking maybe it's that 45 minutes you got to spend on the Stairmaster to get in shape for your contest.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
And do it. I always like to do it early. Get it done.
First thing, if you can, obviously there's practical constraints, but if you can,
100%,
eat the biggest frog. First thing,
eat the biggest frog. I haven't heard that one before.
You haven't heard that before?
No.
Yeah. That's how
eat
it's
the
like.
Big frog.
Yeah,
like that.
described to
Yeah,
eat the biggest frog. Do the most uncomfortable thing first.
Yeah,
I've never eaten a frog, but I imagine it would be pretty uncomfortable.
It's pretty bouncy, particularly the big ones.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I don't even know if I could eat a frog.
Yeah, they do it in France. Frog legs and shit.
Yeah, I didn't when I went.
You did?
I didn't.
Oh,
I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
I had a French onion soup and a creme brulee, but the frogs and the snails.
You really just want to go just have like a French croissant.
Oh, the croissants.
Dude, so good.
Food like that, just to go off to the side, you must be very strict with your food. I imagine there's no croissants in your life at the moment.
Not at the moment, no. No, not at the moment. I could, look, man, like back when I first got into bodybuilding, this is going to be a complete detour, but I want to come back to the kind thing on the accountability calendar.
We'll do that.
We'll come back there, but just real quick with the food thing. Back when I've been bodybuilding for almost 20 years now. Yeah. Back when I first started, it was bro diet. Fucking chicken, broccoli, rice. That's it. You don't even think about anything that's not on the chicken, broccoli, rice, kangaroo, fucking white
If it's
potato.
not green or white, we don't want it.
Yeah.
No sauce, no nothing.
Now I flexible diet. So if I wanted to have a croissant, I could do it.
Yeah.
It'd probably use up all my fats for the day. And then I'd be starving for the rest of the
chicken
day.
broccoli.
And now I'd be back on, So I choose not to.
Yeah.
But I could if I wanted to.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's only helped your bodybuilding, I'm sure.
On so many levels, man. Yep. Psychologically, like I used to very, very much on the borderline of binge eating disorder.
Yeah.
For sure. That kind of bro diet, cheat meal bullshit. It just is not a healthy relationship with food. And I used to blow out after every contest prep as well.
Yeah.
I put on fucking 20 kilos in 10 weeks. That's no way to live.
No.
Holy fuck.
And then you got to think about the harm that you're doing to your digestive system, eating the same foods for 20 weeks straight, not introducing any different sources of carbs and proteins and fats and shit.
It baffled me.
Just shit.
I know we're a little bit sidetracked, but
for
someone who used to have a lot of gut issues, they're introducing just a variety of different foods. Because, again, grew up with looking at bodybuilding mags and all you see is chicken, rice, broccoli. So you just get in your head, I just could eat the same thing, and I'm going to look like that.
Yeah.
Clearly, it didn't work. But then as soon as you introduce all this fucking variety, herbs, spices, energy, mental clarity,
everything.
It tastes way better. Of course. Who wants to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli?
I just want to circle back to the accountability calendar because we talked about the biggest frog, the uncomfortable thing. The kind thing is super important as well because I think when you're feeling good, right, easy to do nice things for other people because you feel good, right? Let me help you out with this. Let me, buy you this or whatever your acts of service are. It's different for everybody. When you feel shit, when you're going through some shit, when you're in not a great state of mind, prioritizing doing something kind for somebody else when you don't feel like doing it is one of the best things that you can do for your mental health.
100%. Do you follow? I'm sure you follow Simon Sinek.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So he talks about it all the time. I listened to his potty with Diary of CEO. I forgot his name. James Bartlett, I think it is.
Yeah.
He talks about on this potty that he truly believes, our reason or purpose for living is to be in service of others.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no better feeling than doing something nice for someone unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously they get satisfaction out of it, but what you'll feel is just 10 times more.
Yeah.
Have you read the book, The Resilience Project?
Yes.
Oh, love it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, his gratitude, his whole philosophy, gratitude, empathy, mindfulness.
Yeah.
Those 3 principles, man.
Mm.
I read that book actually. It was during 2021. I was in a moon boot.
Yeah.
Because I just torn my Achilles. You remember that, yes. We all remember that, unfortunate. Just tore my Achilles.
Yeah.
The partner and I were having problems.
Yeah.
I was living back home with my parents.
Yeah.
And we got locked down. Literally for like 4 days. Yeah. I picked this book up. In those 2 days, it took me to finish a book, which for me, previous to that, man, used to pick up a book and it'd take me, a month to read a chapter. I finished that book in 2 days. Completely changed the trajectory of my life.
It's awesome, man.
I still do. Like I'm 660 days now into the gratitude journal.
Yep.
Haven't missed one day.
Beautiful.
It is one of the best books. I literally bought a whole bunch, gifted it to people anytime they have an issue.
Yeah.
It's the best book. We did go really up and down.
We did.
We did.
Yeah,
I love it.
We did. We've been all over the place.
We haven't even touched on half of the stuff you do. Though.
Yeah, I know. We could go for 3-4 hours, man.
I know. Fuck. How long have we been going for?
We put an hour and 15.
Yeah.
20.
Oh,
Done
shit.
very well.
Yeah.
Absolutely well.
Yeah, I can tell.
Well, I'll ask quickly because I know you wanted to be close to that hour mark. But how are you feeling for 2 weeks' time when you hit stage?
Physically, I feel horrible.
Yep.
Like I'm, and that's why I asked you. I said, "How long are we going to record for?" Because I have hour bursts at the moment where I'm I'm good, and then I start to drop off a cliff, and I'm like, "Fuck, So physically, very, very difficult. Yep. But I'm pushing my body to levels of condition that I've never been before. So that kind of comes with the territory.
Yep.
In terms of confidence, very confident.
Yep.
But the confidence is not attached to the outcome. The confidence is attached to the process.
That's fucking good.
Yeah.
That is so
and
good.
I've done everything that I needed to do.
Yep.
And I'm going to present the best physique I've ever presented.
Yep.
So
and then what comes of that will come of that.
That's it, man.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So what number show would this be for you for someone who's done almost 20 years of?
I got asked this question the other day, actually.
I
think in terms of show, it's in the high 20s now.
Yep.
I'm going to say 26.
Yep.
Jeez. I'd have to go back and count though, man.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's 26. I think it's the 20th prep that I've done as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes you prep and you do multiple shows. Yeah, so
that's insane.
Yeah,
still love it.
Love it, man. Yeah, I love it.
I know we're stretched for time here. Yeah. But was there a point where you were just over it?
Yes.
Yeah,
there was. Yeah. Before Men's Physique existed, I was frustrated with the sport because as a bodybuilder, I could never compete against the shorter guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because back when there was just bodybuilding, there wasn't Men's Physique or Classic Physique or any of these other divisions. I'd win my height class, come up in an overall, come up against a guy that was 5'6" and get smoked.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man, I'm never going to be able to build the muscle density to compete with that.
Yeah.
So I left the sport for about 3 years.
Yep.
And then Men's Physique came back and I was like, we're on here.
This is my time.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I just realized also I'm going to have to edit this podcast just so it looks like, obviously Joe's got a giant calf on him.
Look at the size of that thing.
I know. I'm literally just going to edit mine so it just doesn't look like a fucking tibia.
Blow yours up a little bit.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. That's a torn one, though. That's the one we don't need. That wins automatically. That gas truck will just destroy anyone here.
Shit. Look at that thing.
We are very conscious of your time. So
we have 10 questions.
We have 10 very random questions.
Very fast questions.
Yeah. Right. They're never fast, bro. You've got to stop saying that. Well, they started out really fast.
Yeah.
But some of them go deeper than probably our conversations today. So, Johnny, 10 rapid questions.
Yeah.
Go.
You're Neo in the Matrix. You can have the red pill and find out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have the blue pill and continue not knowing.
Always the red pill.
Yes. Favorite lunch item?
Man,
Not quick, bro.
lunch item.
Yeah, what would you eat?
I don't even look at meals like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I look at numbers. Let's go like meal number 3.
Yeah, we'll go meal 3.
Meal number 3. I make a Mexican inspired chicken salad, and it's fucking delicious.
Oof, that's nice.
I love Mexican.
Tacos.
Have you been to? You probably haven't. But Pepe's in Newmarket.
No.
After your show, come back up. We'll treat you there.
We'll take you to Pepe's.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, that's not a competition season style.
No, definitely not.
You can get. Last time I went, they now have like dessert tacos.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
Fuck. Anyways,
favorite movie setting you'd like to live in?
Ooh, just because I've seen it recently. Actually, no, I'm going to change it. I haven't seen it. I'm very much looking forward. I booked out a cinema. I'm taking my team to go see it next weekend.
Sick.
yeah.
Bro,
that looks sick.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Just that period of time.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So good. Best advice you've ever been given?
So many different pieces, man. It's difficult to pick one, but I'm going to say something that's super cliche, but it's just very timely at the moment. Never fucking give up.
I like that. Absolutely. What question would you ask your pet?
Question would I ask my pet.
What is your pet, by the way?
We have a 2-year-old border collie.
Oh,
and her name's Ella.
Love it.
And she's beautiful. What she does all day. What do you do all day? Yeah. I'd be interested to know.
Apart from fucking tear up our backyard.
Yeah. You want cake or a pie?
What sort of pie?
Any pie.
Are we talking meat pie? Are we talking fruit pie?
Yeah, fruit pie. Any pie.
Because fruit pie is kind of like a cake.
Inside a pie.
Yeah.
It's like a cake pie.
Yeah.
It's got another dimension to this question.
It's got to be a pie for sure. Pie nice. I'm not a big cake eater.
Yeah, I love pie.
Except for my Polish grandmother's cake, babcia.
That's our
babcia's cake.
Damn.
You guys take me to Pepe's, I'll bring you some of babcia's cake.
We have a deal.
Bro, that's fine. You had us sold well and true before.
Yeah.
Board game or card game that you dominate everybody at?
Monopoly.
Yeah.
I literally was thinking, I'm never playing you in Monopoly.
That's your entrepreneurial streak.
Yes. Yeah, it comes through. Yeah.
Do you have any tattoos?
No, clean skin.
Would you get one? And if so, what would it be?
No, never appealed to me. Which is interesting because my sister is covered.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for you.
No.
That's all right.
No, never really appealed. No.
Cool. Favorite pizza?
It's got to be like a traditional prosciutto style. Just prosciutto, bocconcini,
another place you come
basil,
done.
Wood-fired oven,
nice
homemade dough. Yeah.
Done.
Simple.
You got 1 week to live. What are you doing?
I wouldn't change a thing.
Fuck, I love that.
I know. That's a 10. And as everyone can now see, they weren't fast. They're thought-provoking.
They're pretty quick. Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for giving up your time. I know, obviously, you're 2 weeks out. You've got 16 businesses to run. But for those wanting to reach out, maybe chat to you about business mentoring or obviously Massive Joe's, I'll throw up the link there. But where can they find you, brother?
Man, the best place to find me is, if you just Google my name, Instagram will come up, Facebook will come up. I'm probably most active on Instagram, my personal profile. So just my name, Joesph Mencel. There's no dots or hashes or underscores or anything like that. Joesph, JOSEPH MENCEL. That's the best place.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then all the links to like MJFitness and TMJ Apparel and IFBB Pro League and all that kind of jump off there as well.
We didn't even get to touch on TMJ.
Yeah,
we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Next trip.
We got a Mexican dinner date.
We'll just film there over tacos.
Yeah,
brother. Thank you so. Oh, bro, you have me tequila and sangria. We're
done.
It's gonna be fun. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you. Done.
That was.